Hey guys, in this video, I want to do a quick comparison of a few of my Nextorch flashlights. And the main reason I'm doing this is to compare the smaller one, the TA20, which is one of their smallest tactical flashlights, if not the only smaller tactical flashlight that Nextorch makes. And the reason why I'm doing this is I wanted to compare Nextorch's smallest tactical light, which is the TA20, with the TA30 Max and the TA30C Max, which are full-size tactical lights by Nextorch. I want to see how it's able, or if it's able to compete or stand up with these two on its own. So let's go through firstly a little bit of the size comparison. So as you can see, I mean, this thing is half the size. Even the bezel is tiny compared to any of the TA30 range. It's probably a little bit more than half size, but it is tiny, and the battery tube also is a lot smaller. It takes a 16340 cell. These ones take 21700 cells. Great thing with Nextorch though is that even with their smaller lights, and even if you look at their other range like their EDC flashlights as well, which are a lot cheaper than the tactical range, they use the same high quality construction, anodization, and processes even with those lights, and that's no different to what they've done with the TA20. Okay, so it's smaller, but it has that same high quality finish and detailing, everything electronics as well. Nextorch use this kind of matte black finish on their lights. Okay, the great thing about it is that it's grippy. I've seen quite a few tactical flashlights that use a more glossy finish, and they have to be more aggressive with their knurling in order to create some extra grip on the lights, but Nextorch can get away using this checkered pattern because the finish of it is just really nice and grippy. I don't know how they do it, but it looks great. Low key finish as well, so there's not any sort of glossiness being picked up. On the sides of the bezel here, you can see there's this anti-roll feature, okay, with all of their lights, but especially if you're using one of these tactical rings, that's the FR1 and that's the FR2 tactical ring, this thing is not going to be rolling around anywhere. Let's have a look underneath the bezels for all three of these lights, and you can see they're all using orange peel reflectors, and they have this nice sort of crenulated bezel with 3 glass breaking beads. Stainless steel for the TA30 Max, but for the TA30C Max and the TA20, Nextorch have opted for titanium, which I really think that's a great upgrade. The emitters sit in this square housing at the bottom. You've got the P9, Osram P9 here on the right, and this one is the XHP 50.2 on the TA30, and this one is the XHP 50.3 high, which is a D-domed LED. Okay. Other than that, it's all pretty similar between these two, and this one here just has a much smaller bezel. I like I mentioned before, that Nextorch are still using that same high quality design, even in their smaller flashlights. They've just miniaturized it. In terms of the UIs for these lights, very simple, and I'll show you. I only need to show you once on these lights because they're basically the same, but with the TA30C Max, you've got this tactical selector ring here, so it's on tactical mode, but you can switch it from low, medium, high, and then strobe mode. Okay, I usually keep it just on tactical. This one also has a battery indicator on the back here, so it just goes blue if it's 100%, flashes. There's 4 different settings that tells you, 4 different indicators that tells you the battery level. Okay, but you can press that button halfway to access turbo mode, full to access strobe. It's exactly the same on this one, except it does not have the battery indicator. In terms of the TA20, they use a little bit of a different design. So here on the head, you've got tac, duty, and lock mode. So tac mode just allows you to access the tactical mode from the highest mode with a half press. Full press, again, you can access the strobe mode. If you're on duty mode, it always starts on the highest mode. Okay, so if you half press, always on highest mode, but if you full press, it then locks it in on high. Then you can half press to access medium, low, and strobe. Okay, but when you turn it off and turn it back on, it's always just going to start on that high mode again. And bonus, you have the lock feature, which I think is really great, especially for these small flashlights like this. Might accidentally get activated in your pocket or something. You know, these larger ones here are designed to be used with holsters, and I've never had an issue with these being activated in your pocket because the tail switch tends to stick out anyway. there's not much you can do but really just activate that turbo in the momentary if you accidentally swipe it or something like that. In terms of total output, the TA30C Max produces 3000 lumens. That's the winner out of the three. TA30 Max produces 2100 lumens, and the TA20 produces 1000 lumens. Beam profiles are pretty similar. You got lots of flood, lots of useful flood, and a concentrated hotspot in the middle. But because it's using an orange peel reflector, you'll find that the hotspot blends in with the flood a little bit better. You don't get too much of a strong centralized beam in the center, round sort of beam. It just sort of concentrates the light more into the center of the beam. The TA30C Max is going to throw the furthest out of all of them because it's got a D-domed emitter. It's the brightest as well, and it has the same bezel, the same diameter bezel as the TA30 Max. The TA30 Max uses an XHP 50.2, so it's not going to produce as much light, and it's also a domed emitter. And same with the TA30, we've got a smaller bezel, smaller reflector, smaller emitter, so you're not going to get as much throw. But 200 meters is pretty good, 300, and you're looking at over 400 meters for the TA30C Max. I think these are more suitable if you're looking for a duty flashlight that has long sustained lumens, higher runtime. Maybe you've got a holster to carry them in as well. That's more suited. Whereas the TA20, you can have it in a holster, or you can just carry it around in your pocket. Less lumens, obviously, and less runtime with the 16340 cell in there. But the great thing about the TA20 is that it also takes CR123 primary, so it functions as a really good backup light, or even just your primary light if you don't need the extra lumens. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. But for now, let's go straight to the beam shots. All right, this is a quick comparison video I wanted to do between the Nextorch TA20 and the Nextorch TA30 Max and TA30C Max. Just wanted to see how the smaller TA20 would compare up against its full-sized brothers. So on the left, I'm going to have the TA20 to start off with. Okay, and there we go. Really nice beam, diffused, and quite throwy as well, reaching the other side of this oval easily. We've got the TA30 Max out on the right, okay, and you can see there it is the TA30C is producing significantly more amount of light compared to the TA20, but again, it's much larger flashlight. Okay, let's compare that again. TA30 Max, TA20 here. Okay, so if you do need the extra lumens, the TA30 series does extremely well, especially maintaining those lumens. You can use the TA20 as your backup as well. I think as a standalone, the TA20 does a great job. And there's always going to be a light that's brighter at the end of the day, but because of its smaller battery size, especially, you're not going to get as long of a runtime. Let's see if I put this one on the TA30 on the medium mode. Okay, and on the medium mode here, TA30, to be honest, it looks pretty similar to the TA20. Okay. The TA20 is actually stronger, it's throwing further, and I think it's producing perhaps a little bit more light, similar to a little bit more light from the TA20 here on the left. Okay, you see there on that tree, TA20, TA30, yeah, and the TA20 is hitting that tree in the distance a lot more easily, so it's almost like having it on a slightly brighter medium mode. So really impressive for such a little light. Okay, and if we put this up, especially if we put this up against the TA30C Max, this one is a monster, but again, it's the TA20 on the right here, TA30C Max. What a monster. What a monster. Okay, so that's the difference that you roughly get, okay, between the smaller version, TA20 here, and TA30C Max. Okay, it's not a really fair comparison, but more for your knowledge, and especially if you're thinking of using either of these lights as a you know, as your main and your backup lights, you'll know what to expect out of them. And if I actually, let's try putting this one on the TA30C on the medium mode, okay, and we'll just compare them. Yeah, roughly the same amount of light from both, so it's almost like having you know, just on medium mode, the TA20, but again with the TA20 it will ramp down quickly as well. So let me just see if I can just get that into, that's the medium mode here for the TA20. Low goes to strobe, high, medium. So medium is probably your best bet. Couple of hours of runtime. I can still see those trees in the back just tinted, but it's probably more closer to this, you know, this one here that I'm hitting. Okay, a nice little backup light or general tactical light. Okay, two mediums again. Okay.